The Sharing Cities Network is a grassroots network of communities around the world that want to live happier, healthier, and more sustainably by sharing resources and knowledge. Our goal is to create entire sharing cities with local cooperative economies and shared housing, food, transit, work, education, and finance. When our community of organizers came up with the idea of a network late last year, we had no idea how successful it would be. Our first call to action was the Sharing Cities Map Jam, a decentralized event in collaboration with WeShare and other partners to simultaneously map shared resources in cities around the world. We created a complete guide to map jamming and put out the call. The response was overwhelming. Together, we mapped over 50 cities in just 2 weeks. Over 500 Map Jam participants were inspired to learn of all the shared resources they already had to build on.
By and large, we're doing fine in the company space. But we have been missing what is probably the single largest beneficiary of the sharing economy itself, the city. Thinking about how the city might itself tap into some of these platforms to connect and create more efficient transactions and value all around us. And indeed, cities have the ability to help this space grow and move it forward, or to get in the way. They can help grow a generative garden, or they can leave it an unused, empty lot. Cities today are faced with more challenges than I can count. We have community isolation and fragmentation. The social contract has broken down in many places. Budget reductions, fewer financial resources, and the money that's made in a city often leaves town. And then, of course, we have problems like unemployment and the upheaval of traditional workplace arrangements. But collaborative consumption is a way of seeing the world. I like to term it as goggles. I would use both hands if I didn't have the mic. Think of it as goggles that allow you to see value that's invisible to you now. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking this is just about creating marketplaces of assets. It's not. Equally, if not more so, this is about creating and nurturing communities, enabling people to connect and belong and identify and see the world in new ways and come back into relationship with one another. Cities who understand this can really create community, grow local markets, and promote local investment. And the returns on these investments are enormous. Third, collaborative consumption is linked to new and flexible livelihoods. Now, to be sure, it's also linked to traditional forms of entrepreneurship, and there are newly minted MBAs and engineers joining the ranks of collaborative consumption companies every month. But today, what I want to talk about is a different kind of entrepreneurship. It's more related to systemic problems like unemployment and underemployment, especially for people who have skills but are looking for some sort of flexible work arrangement. Let's call this everyday entrepreneurship.
Part of what we're finding with this is that what we thought was the major point of manufacturing and consumption, which is to get a bunch of stuff, is not in fact how we really live best in dense environments. What we're finding is that what we want is access to the capacities of things. My favorite example is a drill. Who here owns a drill, a home power drill? Okay, I do too. The average home power drill is used somewhere between 6 and 20 minutes in its entire lifetime, depending on who you ask. And so what we do is we buy these drills that have a potential capacity of thousands of hours of drill time, use them once or twice to put a hole in the wall and let them sit, right? Our cities, I would put to you, are stockpiles of these surplus capacities. And while we could try and figure out new ways to use those capacities, such as cooking or making ice sculptures or even a mafia hit, what we probably will find is that, in fact, turning those products into services that we have access to when we want them is a far smarter way to go. And in fact, even space itself is turning into a service. We're finding that people can share the same spaces, do stuff with vacant space. Buildings are becoming bundles of services, right? So we have new designs that are helping us take mechanical things that we used to spend energy on, like heating, cooling, et cetera, and turn them into things that we avoid spending energy on. So we light our buildings with daylight. We cool them with breezes. We heat them with sunshine. In fact, when we use all these things, what we found is that in some cases, energy use in a building can drop as much as 90%, which brings on another threshold effect I like to call furnace dumping, which is quite simply, if you have a building that doesn't need to be heated with a furnace, you save a whole bunch of money up front. These things actually become cheaper to build than the alternatives.
Our Map Jam organizers asked, why not host ShareFest to bring together all the projects mapped in the fall? No small feat, but in spring of 2014, more than 40 teams in 40 cities committed to organizing ShareFest to give their community the real-life experience of a sharing city through a festival. ShareFest reached an estimated 10,000 people face-to-face and many more through promotion and media reports. What's a ShareFest? A ShareFest is a crowd-sourced festival of sharing activities like repair cafes, skill shares, and swaps. It's a powerful way to spark collaboration between sharing projects and otherwise kickstart local sharing movements. With the help of the Center for a New American Dream, we hosted a webinar on how to organize a ShareFest and developed an extensive toolkit for ShareFest coordinators. To support new Sharing City groups, we developed the Sharing Cities Network platform with free community pages for each city. This new platform has helped 40 cities organize their community online. Each city page connects people with local events, news, community resources, maps, discussion groups, and more. We offered seed grants and technical assistance to over 20 communities, with 10 sharing projects already on the way for a total of 30 new projects started. We also gave presentations around the world advising government officials on sharing city policies from Seoul to Portland to Austin, Texas.
We see a lot of cities sort of leaning in to this space and from a progressive point of view. But we also see many very hesitant and only getting involved in some kind of a reactionary capacity. Now, what's important to note is that they really can see this space as a way to move it forward, or they can be fearful. And the most important thing to do is to recognize the difference between a new way of transacting that's disruptive but works really well, and the fear of something simply because it's new. We've seen this before: the car, the telephone, the computer, the internet. And to be sure, there are challenges and unknowns, outdated regulations, and questions around things like insurance and tax. But challenges and questions are not unique to the sharing economy. They're part of the natural process of innovation and the journey towards a more sustainable, thrivable world. And you can do so in a way that is extremely efficient and that is also very human. And cities are all about humanity. They are, after all, the original sharing platform. We're simply able to use new modern-day technologies to resurface and reimagine the ways in which we can do that. There's no better time to become a shareable city than now, and everyone can help make that happen. Thank you.